The real estate crisis rages on. In today's video, I'm going to explain what's going on with commercial real estate, with residential real estate. People are walking away from massive deposits, and I'm going to show you where people have moved from and where they are going. I got an interesting map that will be very informative to a lot of you. I want you to stay tuned through all of this. Let's begin. Right here, you could see pre-construction condo buyers forced to offload units for as much as $150,000 less than they paid. If buyers continue to sell condos below their contract value in assignment sales, the sell-off could lower valuations for entire buildings. So it's not just one place. We're seeing this across the board. This is happening a lot of different places. But of course, this is what happens when you start building a building at a certain time. People are paying before they even dig into the ground. People are putting offers. They're trying to get the places. And then you have a little bit of a correction. Okay, the craziness is kind of wearing off. And so anything where the money was going in at that crazy time, those are those peaks, those unusual moments, those anomalies. And so that happened in the case of Canada. It happened in 2017, April 2017, I believe, as well as 2021 when everything was getting crazy. And so now what we're seeing is those two peaks, those two moments. Anybody doing business around that time is really still today hurting because you bought during the euphoria. And that's a big problem if you're not willing to hold for a very, very long time. It's hard to do that when the borrowing costs are so high. Now let's look a little bit further here. I want to tell you where people have been moving. I've been telling you this and we've been seeing articles, but now I found this really good map. So you got to check it out. There's actually one here. I'll put the link in the description, okay? The map shows which countries have gained and lost population since 2020. So here it is. You can see the 3-year population shift by county. And the green is positive, and that purplish color is the negative. So it's, the darker it is, of course, the more intense. And what is very clear to me, very clear, is what you would expect that. Well, you could see, look at that. California, to me, it looks like people leaving California and they're going to basically the states closest to it. You see that? They're just moving on. They say, okay, short distance, I'm over here. At the same time, in basically what is the center of the United States, we get a lot of people leaving. Maybe it's the job circumstance. Maybe, for other reasons, they're taking off. A lot of Texas saw major growth. Florida saw major growth. And then you go across north, like going from Florida north beyond that, all along the coast. And clearly there has been a lot of growth there too. So it's just interesting to see what has happened over the last 3 years and actually visually see the movements in this way. I hope you appreciate this. If you did, hit that thumbs up button. All right. Doing so helps to support the channel. If you want to see in a list view, I got you as well right here, county population. Just comparing that, Los Angeles County took a big hit here. And you could see the population changes from 2020 into 2023, as well as the 3-year change. Pretty extreme in some circumstances. There's no question about it. I mean, look at towards the bottom of the list, Collin County, Texas. I know it might be a little bit blurry, but the links are in the description. 11% positive. I mean, just shows us that imagine that surge of population. I mean, that's a lot to absorb in just a few years. I'm sure the people of Collin County are not too happy. Sometimes it could be because it might restore those cities and the towns, but not always, okay? So this is what's going on inside of real estate. If you say, all of real estate is bad or all of real estate is fantastic, you're really, really saying a blanket statement which does not apply everywhere. As Florida sellers slash the prices of their properties in an attempt to attract reluctant buyers, local realtors say this might be the right time to purchase a home in the Sunshine State. And so what they're saying is, hey, things are looking a little bit iffy right now, and this is the time to jump in because things are going to go higher and higher. Not all property goes higher linearly. It struggles sometimes. It goes down sometimes. You got to be careful with this. Where you're buying, the jobs need to be moving in. That is essential. And also, don't think that you're just going to flip. I'll show you why. You think you're going to flip houses? Be careful. Okay, I'll show you this. When you encounter a crisis, when real estate becomes too expensive, rents become too expensive, you push people further and further out into the edges. No showers, no sleep. Van life isn't as cool as Instagram makes it seem. With home prices so high, living on wheels seems a reasonable alternative, but many find it isn't. Of course, people can do this and some people enjoy it. There's no question about it. But for some people, they're just, they're pushed to the edge and they say, hey, I got to do whatever I can. But that's a big concern. And it shows us how devalued the currency has been when the average job cannot afford the average home. And the average job can't even afford the average rent in most cases. Because if you go to what is a much more affordable area, there's a very good chance that the salaries in that local area just don't add up, right? They just don't add up to that. And so you've got a problem there. Clearly, I've seen it everywhere. Family Dollar and Dollar Tree will close 1,000 stores. So it shows us not all, just because it's like selling cheap stuff and people buy the cheap stuff now more than ever before, doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to make a successful business. Okay, just be careful on that. Blanket statements often, it's not a good thing, but I'm also showing you the commercial real estate side because I think it's important to look at this and understand, like, where are the biggest risks. Generally, you would say, hey, dollar stores, very good during this time. They carry a lot more stuff than they ever did before. Variety stores, in a sense. But you got to look at it wholeheartedly and understand it doesn't mean that they're going to be profitable. Office vacancy rate nears 20% to set fresh record, according to Moody's. And so you'll see that around different areas. Obviously, it's worse than others. San Francisco being a prime candidate for the worst offender title. But just look around and you'll see it for yourself. It's not over yet. Next year, this could get worse as well. And we see not only vacancies, but delinquencies being a problem too. Calling CRE, commercial real estate, manageable, quote, manageable, is just wishful thinking. And certainly this is a problem. We've seen this so-called debt. The debt is manageable. I've heard that before, but of course it's not. And that is a fraud. That is a joke in a sense, because people have been told that the debt is manageable. So of course, commercial real estate is manageable because it's the debt that's important, but it's not. Because as I've said 100 times before, you cannot convert a lot of these properties. We have to wait for a period of time for people to go in and move into those offices. New businesses need to be created. Companies need to expand their operations. We have to find potential alternative uses for this. You could have data centers and things built in some of them, but they're generally not made in that way. Okay, they don't replace office towers and put a whole bunch of data centers. It's not like that. You got to figure out your cooling circumstances. There's a lot to it. And of course, the electrical, the plumbing, if you're going to try to do that in residential, it's a different world. Leaked document. Amazon expects to save 1.3 billion with a B by slashing office vacancies and terminating leases early and other moves. They want to get rid of real estate just like Salesforce. I believe it was Salesforce and potentially Microsoft as well. Want to get rid of real estate. A lot of companies do. They need to cut costs anywhere they can. They're also increasing their fees. Hey, thanks, Amazon. They're increasing their fees, but guess what happens? Those fees get passed down to the customer. That's just the way it goes. If you increase your minimum wage, what do we learn about the fast food chains? You increase the wage in California to $20. We need a living wage, right? Okay. We used to have 3 people working in the back. Oh, now we got 2. Soon it'll be 1 and Flippy the robot. 1 plus Flippy the robot are going to replace those 3 workers that were there before. Home flipping plummets across the US in 2023 as profits slump again. There you go. You could see this, obviously, very, very obvious as time has gone on. We have seen this to be a worse and worse proposition to try and flip a home. Why? It's borrowing costs. Yes, obviously that's the case. But construction costs, repair costs, material costs have all gone up. So these guys, they think they're making money, but you got to watch out for that. Be careful on these flips. You really got to know what you're doing and understand your costs. I see it all the time. People, they really didn't think that through. Okay. Investors own 23.7% of Ontario homes. Did you just hear what I said? A quarter of the homes in Ontario are owned by investors. Now, that's not necessarily the big multi-billion-dollar companies. This could be the mom and pops, but it still shows us what's been going on. Nearly a quarter of every home, and I'm sure you go into the big cities, those numbers are higher, right? It's skewed to be all across Ontario. This is a big concern because, of course, the unaffordability of it all, and if they believe that there's going to be higher vacancy, if they can't deal with the borrowing costs, then you could potentially have a cascading event that occurs, toppling the entire thing. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but the longer interest rates remain high, the more of a burden this becomes. You've got to watch out for that. Of course, the debt can deal a crushing blow, and so we need to pay attention. Commercial real estate, let's summarize here. Commercial real estate, bad and worse. If you look at retail and you look at office, very bad. We could have fantastic industrial, that could be very good. Of course, anything related to energy, I think, could be potentially good. I also really like retirement homes, that sort of thing, because of course, aging population. I like anything that goes along with the healthcare sector as well. So those are a few things that's not all bad. And like I said, even when we look around in residential real estate, let's say, or commercial real estate, you got to understand there's pockets. So keep that in mind as an investor, or just like you got to understand what your exposure is. What is the exposure when I'm getting into a particular investment? You cannot just look at PE ratios. My God, please. Okay. So that's what we got to do. If you want to know the ins and outs of all of this, I talk about this live for 2 hours every single Friday on my Finance Friday live sessions. I want you to join there. All you got to do is click that link in the description, themoneygps.com/live, so you can find out more about it. If you have questions, just let me know. I'm always available. All right. And as always, I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.